Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, I'll be sharing my review on the LA Colors Truly Matte Foundation. This foundation is supposedly a really long wearing and a very high coverage foundation, and the shade I picked up is Cafe, and the shade Cafe is supposedly a really perfect match for those who are of NC42 or even if you are of NC43. I myself is also NC42, but I generally shift between NC40, NC41 and to NC42, and I'll be honest, it took me quite a long time to do a review onto this foundation because initially when this foundation launched, I really did not get as much request as I did get in recent days. So I thought since people are really requesting about this foundation, so let's do a review onto this foundation. And I've been using this foundation straight for a week now. So if you're interested to know what I think about this foundation, then please keep on watching. So let's start with the packaging of this foundation. This is how the packaging looks like. The packaging is made up of strong plastic. It also has a cap as well as a pump, which is really appreciated because the pump in a foundation comes in really handy. And also, since this packaging is made up of plastic, it is very travel friendly. So in both ways, I really like the packaging. This foundation retails for 575 rupees and you get 1.35 fluid ounce. That is equals to 40 ml of foundation, which is 10 ml more than the standard amount of foundation that we get. We usually get like 30 ml of foundation, but with this one we get 40 ml. And this foundation says it is a truly matte, long wearing and high pigment foundation. And when this foundation launched in US countries, everyone were talking really good things about this foundation. This foundation comes in 14 different shades in India, catering to all the different skin tones, and I'm pretty sure you will find your closest shade into this range. And now before I talk more about this foundation, let us see the demo of this foundation, how this foundation applies and what is the coverage of this foundation. And once we've done that, we will come back and talk more about this foundation. Alright, so I picked up the shade Cafe and this is a little bit dark on my skin. I should have gone for the shade Warm Honey, which is one shade lighter than Cafe, I believe. And yeah, just all I have to do with this shade is blend it down to the neck so that my face matches my neck, because once I apply it, you will clearly see that this shade is a tad bit dark on my skin. So I'm gonna take like one and a half pump, about this much right here. And I'm gonna do in a traditional way. One side I'll be applying with my sponge and another side with brush. First dot it all over my face. And by the way, I am not applying any kind of primer on my face because I want you guys to see how it applies by its own. So I'll do right side with my brush and the left side with my sponge. And this foundation definitely has a really good coverage, which I really like. So on this side, I am using my sponge. Alright, so this side with brush and this side with the sponge, and of course the sponge side is giving me a little bit of luminosity, but even on the brush side it looks really nice. And the coverage this foundation has given really good. I'm really impressed with the coverage. The coverage I would say is medium to full coverage and not completely full coverage, but it is giving me a really nice dewy vibe onto my skin. And the finish of this foundation is so much like a natural matte finish. It says it is a true matte finish, which should be a really strong powder matte finish, but it is looking more like a demi matte sort of finish. So I'm going to quickly layer up this foundation and see how it layers up. And by the way, the texture of this foundation is really creamy and really smooth. The texture almost reminds me of the Huda Beauty foundation. The texture is very similar to that. Actually doing another light layer of this foundation because this foundation already have a really good coverage by itself. Alright, so in second layer, I feel it definitely is giving me a really intense coverage on my skin and also looks really natural, does not look too heavy and cakey, which I'm really liking about this foundation. So one last time before I do the rest of my face, this is how my brush side looks like with 2 layers of foundation. and this is how my sponge side looks like with 2 layers of foundation. And if you'd like to know whatever else I'm using on top of this foundation, you can check my description box, because nowadays I try to write each and every product that I'm using on my face on that particular day. So yeah, just do check my description box if you're interested in knowing. Although for demo purpose I have layered up this foundation, but in real life on day-to-day basis I would not necessarily do a second layer of this foundation, because 2 layers of this foundation does not really look that good on the face, or just by the foundation itself can look really nice and natural finish. But you have to understand that you will put concealer on top of it as well as powder, and you will layer up the product onto the face, and that at the end can look a little bit cakey. So I would not really recommend to go for 2 layers with this foundation. And now about the longevity of this foundation. This foundation is a really long wearing foundation. This stay about 8 to 9 hours on my face without budging, without moving, and I really like that about this foundation. And I'll just insert the footage of my wear test, how it looks after 8 or 9 hours of wearing this foundation right here. And honestly, there is nothing really wrong or bad to say about this foundation, because I did not really find anything wrong or bad about this foundation. But I will say that this foundation does have a little bit of smell, but the smell is also not that strong to really bother anyone's nose. But if you have really sensitive nose, it can feel a little bit bothersome to you. And as I said, I have worn this foundation every single day for 1 straight week, and this foundation did no wrong. In fact, I really liked how it looked at the end of the day. I'm a dry skin type, but this foundation did not really dry out my skin overly. So yeah, I really like this foundation. This is a really long wearing foundation, gives a really nice coverage and stays matte for a really long period of time. And I guess that's all I have to say. I really hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video and found this video helpful. And if you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already yet. And if you have any other video requests, you can leave them in the comments below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care. Bye.